What's up guys, it's Agent Power. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. In today's video we're going to be talking about the update that happened to Apex Legends yesterday on the 7th of April 2020. And we're not going to talk about the map changes to World's Edge, the Bloodhound Trials, or even the map rotations. Today we're specifically talking about the balance changes that I believe really got overlooked when this update went live. So here on the channel we're going to talk about it today and everything that you need to know, because there was weapon changes and some buffs to some legends as well that is worth noting. So let's go ahead and jump into it. If you guys enjoy the video, a like rating is always appreciated. Subscribe if you guys are brand new and want more Apex content. And let's jump right into the patch notes. As always, I will leave a link to the patch notes if you guys want to read it in detail down in the description box below, so you can check it out yourself. But let's dive right into it. Alright, first up is the G7 Scout. Its headshot damage has actually reduced its multiplier from 2 to 1.75. So hitting in the head is going to do less damage now than it did before. It also has a reduced leg shot scale from 0.9 to 0.75. So when you shoot somebody in the leg, it's going to do less damage as well. And then slightly reduced projectile speed, meaning for those longer shots, it's going to take a little bit longer for that bullet to actually connect with its target. So some of the nerfs there, it was hit pretty hard when Season 4 first dropped. With these more changes to the G7 Scout, you're going to see it less and less in pubs and definitely in ranked. Okay, next up is the L-Star. The L-Star kind of got a buff as far as its recoil pattern. Only in the sense is when you're feathering the trigger, like tapping it every once in a while, its view kick pattern will come back to center a lot faster, so that it will be less of an unpredictable recoil pattern than it was previously. And then it's reduced time to overheat, so it's going to be a lot quicker for the L-Star to overheat, which is a nerf as well. So instead of taking 25 shots to overheat, it now takes 23 shots. So keep in mind when using the L-Star, it's going to overheat a lot sooner. Next up, the Kraber got a buff. Its increased headshot multiplier went from 2.05 to 3. Pretty much they wanted to make it so if you shoot anybody in the head, no matter what helmet they have, no matter what shield, they can be fully kitted, fully armored up, and it's gonna drop no matter what. So hitting those headshots with the Kraber will always be a one-shot hit down, which should be. The Kraber is an absolute beast, and it should be able to down anybody with a headshot. So great job with the Kraber. Next up, the sniper ammo got hit with a nerf, so the ammo pickup usually was 10, now it's 8, and its inventory stack size is now from 20 to 16. So you're going to be holding a lot less per slot in inventory for ammo. I don't really know why they did this, because not very many people use snipers anyways, and with this nerf it kind of pushes people away from using this kind of gun. So a little sad to see, but hopefully that helps with the balance of the overall game. Next up, we're going to talk about low profile. What low profile is for those smaller hitbox legends like Wraith, Lifeline. Those have low profile, so now limb shots to these types of legends will deal as much damage as body shots, which is actually really big. So if you're hitting somebody in the leg, it's like hitting them in the torso, which is crazy. So it might turn people away from actually playing these low profile characters because of this crazy nerf to the low profile characters. Next up, finally, Revenant got a buff. And these buffs are awesome and actually might make Revenant a viable character in the game, which would be huge because nobody plays him. Nobody even likes him. So hopefully this does change that. First up, it's silence. So his tactical ability is increased from 10 seconds to 20 seconds. So when you get hit with a silence from an enemy Revenant, you're not going to be able to use your abilities for 20 seconds. They doubled it. And so they realized that 10 seconds wasn't long enough for somebody to get silenced and then charge in there and take out the people they need, or really engage into a real fight. So that's a pretty big buff. 20 seconds is a long time in Apex Legends, and if you're not be able to use your abilities, you have to sit up there and fight the Revenant one-on-one with gun. Ooh, this is huge. Revenant's silence now disables Gibraltar's gun shield. That is awesome. Finally, this is kind of a nerf to Gibraltar, but a big buff to Revenant. Finally, we have a legend who can finally combat Gibraltar. This does not apply to his dome. This only applies to his gun shield. So somebody's aiming at you and they're Gibraltar, shoot your silence at them. It'll knock off their shield, knock off 50 damage. You can knock a Gibraltar. In the same amount of speed, you can knock any other legend. So that's awesome. I'm going to be running Revenant a lot more. Next up, the increased duration of the area of effect of the silence. So when you throw the silence, it's on the ground, that little bubble. It's going to last from, instead of 5 seconds, it's going to last 10 seconds. So it's going to sit there for a while. So either legends can either run through it, take a little bit of damage, and then have themselves silenced, or they're going to have to navigate somewhere else. So you can actually use it in kind of like a navigation way, kind of like how Caustic can throw his traps and make somebody else go into a different door, or how Watson can block off a certain area. Revenant can start acting like that with this new buff. Alongside that new buff, Silence actually has 2 charges now, so you can shoot 2 of these at once, kind of like Bangalore Smoke. You can shoot 2 silences, so you can navigate the map a little bit easier as far as blocking off choke points if you want with that 10-second area of effect buff. Or if you're running into multiple teams, you can silence both teams if given the chance. So that's a really sweet buff, and I really enjoy these buffs to Revenant because I feel like it'll make him a more viable legend to go against Gibraltar with that buff, to go just be integrated into the 3-man squad a little bit easier and actually make him more enjoyable to actually play. But that is not all. His death totem, so his ultimate, is actually getting a buff as well, which was much needed because it was completely useless before this patch. Characters now respawn with 50 health instead of 1. So when you activate the death totem and you get sent back to it after being in a battle, instead of coming back at 1 HP, you'll come back with full shield and 50 health. So really it's like you're fighting somebody with, let's say if you have purple shield, 200 health, you get knocked back. Now you're only at 150, so they have to fight you again at almost max health. So if you're putting damage on people, get sent back to the totem. This is a huge advantage to Revenant, and a lot of people are going to be a lot more wary of actually fighting Revenants who are, or any kind of character who's in this death totem mode, because now they know they can go back and they're going to have more health, so they're going to be a little bit more of a threat. So it'll help with those extra pushes that teams do when Revenant's in these death totems. So a huge buff that you guys need to look out for, and hopefully we'll see more Revenants because this is awesome. And then lastly, the last buff for Revenant is he is no longer a low profile character. He's slightly bigger than Pathfinder, and they realized that it didn't really make sense to have Revenant a low profile, even though his hitbox is similar to Pathfinder's. The way that they even that out with removing the low profile so he doesn't get more damage taken is that they just increased his hitbox to be a little bit more accurate to his body, so he's a little bit easier to hit. He's more of a medium profile like Bangalore or Watson. Next up, have you guys been seeing those blue bins that's been scattered around the map now? It's kind of a weird thing, and I really didn't know this when I was playing yesterday until I watched the dev stream that happened yesterday on Twitter. These are lifelined bins. Essentially, anybody can open up these bins. They're good and dandy, they're perfectly fine. But if you're a lifeline character and you open up these bins, a secret compartment with more loot in these blue bins will be available only for lifeline. But if lifeline opens it, her team can loot then from that spot. But only lifeline can access these secret compartments to help give her that support character role a little bit more way in a 3-man squad. So what's in these compartments, you may ask? They contain a mixture of health items, weapon attachments, and knockdown shields. So you'll never find any weapons in there. They just kind of will access what's in a lifeline care package, health items, weapon attachments, etc. Next up is Wraith. She got hit with another nerf. Portals will now disappear after 4 seconds if both ends are outside the circle. This change was made to combat players exploiting the portal to avoid taking damage outside the ring. I don't necessarily agree with this. The big thing is if you're going to be popping that portal to try to get into the zone when your entire team is in the zone, they're going to have to be right on the edge of that portal. So as soon as it gets popped, they can go in, and that's totally fine. That's the only thing they have to be aware of when it comes to this nerf. Next up, Evo shields. If you haven't recognized already, their damage required to evolve to the next step was actually reduced. So from blue armor, it's 100 damage to 75. From purple armor, it's 150 damage required instead of 300. And then red armor, instead of 500, it's 400. So it's going to be a lot easier to get purple and red armor with the Evo shields because of this damage reduction. I don't really know how I feel about this quite yet, but let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. I'm a little wishy-washy on it. I hope it's not too overpowered, but we'll see how it plays out. And that will do it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys got a lot out of this, as I did reading all these patch notes and learning all the things that I actually missed from yesterday's update. Let me know down in the comment section below what you learned from this and what you enjoyed most about this patch update. Thank you guys so much for joining me for today's video, and we will catch you in the next video. Peace.